Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. Tate Mathews, a lot has happened in 2 weeks. The last time we were together on Sports Connection here in studio, in 2 weeks, we've had Thanksgiving, which we've obviously enjoyed.
Yes.
We had 2 football teams practicing on Thanksgiving Day, which means what?
They were still playing in the semifinals. Big deal. Most of the state's home. Like you used to talk about, they had already taken up jerseys, taken up pants.
Get the plastic bins out.
Get the plastic bins out.
The bounce dryer sheet to keep it kind of fresh.
Yes, get the hangers out. Still playing. I saw a lot of cool things on Twitter, the breakfast or the brunches that they had together. And I thought the coolest one, Paige did a lot of it too, but I thought the coolest one was they showed, Summit tweeted out a picture of their guys working out in the weight room before Thanksgiving practice. Pretty neat. The rest of us were up on the couch.
Well, and then I don't know if there was an equivalent for state championship week, we would have been doing that too, because Tate, we now have 2 teams playing for state titles.
2 teams, state championship games. Very exciting how both of them got there. One a little bit more dramatic flair than the other. And, you know, we've done this once before. 5A Independence, 6A Ravenwood. You know, the only people that can boast this is Blount County, Blount. I believe it's Blount, but
they call it Blount.
No, it's spelled Blount. But Merrillville, I mean, if you pronounce Merrillville, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that it's Blount, Alcoa, and Merrillville. But you know, they play by a little bit different set of rules there than we do. So 5A and 6A, pretty cool. I know we're going to dig into it, but I like our chances in both of them. So a lot to be thankful for in the WCS Sports Conference. And hey, you know, the exciting thing is now we got basketball going. You know, it's overlapping, but I know everybody's excited that it is because, you know, it's always cool to see the basketball teams, the wrestling teams work with these guys when this happens, you know, because it really is a school thing.
It is. And before we get to talking about those games and those state championship games, let's talk just a minute about basketball and bowling. I want to thank the folks at WCTV. Thank Lance for being there covering our Sports Connection Basketball Media Day version at Mathews's. It was a chance before Thanksgiving break for the media members to come out, and we certainly appreciate them doing that. We had all 9 boys and girls coaches there. They each brought a player with them that day, so that was a great event. And I know you're always impressed by what those young men and young women are able to do in front of a microphone.
Very impressed. I thought they did great. Thought the coaches did great. It's always fun to see both the coaches and the athletes in that environment. And I think the quote of the night, I was standing over kind of to the side at that bar that's in the back of upstairs, and Coach Hill and Coach Fay and Coach Bond and I were sitting there, and Jake Brock walked in. And I mean, I don't even know if he had shook Coach Bond's hand yet. And he goes, "Hey, where's the pizza? I'm starving." I thought that was great.
Pizza was great.
Great pizza, man.
Great pizza. Hey, listen, lots of teams playing well, but I did want to mention a few in particular. Franklin girls.
4-1.
Gotten off to a hot start. The Brentwood boys with Coach Bond. And then you look at Coach Hamilton over at Centennial, new coach there, doing a great job. Already have 2 wins under their belt. If I'm not mistaken, that might have equaled last year's total. I mean, I think it did.
Coach.
It's 2 or 3, but anyway, couple wins to start the season off. I know he's doing a good job. And it's always fun to see guys like Coach Hamilton and Coach Wilkins and Coach Street and Coach Bond and some others who are new to the league. When they see that media day, I always hate to get them to do it because they're in the middle of practice. But I do think they see the value of it, and it does really make you realize what a big deal athletics and how we treat athletics in this district.
Yes, and I thought the parents attended it very well,
They
teammates.
did.
And you know, something I noticed, I know you did, you were busy. It's got to be mentioned. Danny Bourne, assistant principal at Summit, I don't know if he lives in one of those lofts above the factory. If not, I don't think he does. How impressive is that? He was at football media day and basketball media day.
Taking pictures, shooting video.
I thought that was really cool.
He's the real deal.
Real deal. School guy.
Definite school guy. And still my favorite game day sign that, said something about him leaving Ravenwood to come to Summit when they played him.
Yes.
Still my favorite sign.
It was good.
Page girls, now listen, Page girls lost, but I thought it was a great idea on their part. They played Lebanon in that Thanksgiving Classic. I think they lost by 4 or 5 points, but a great early test by playing that team. Coach Barrett does a nice job there at Lebanon High School. And then the Ravenwood boys with a WCS, not a district game anymore. We don't have to go into that again, but I know how you and I feel about it. But Ravenwood knocks off Franklin 63-58. I was at that particular game, and I'm telling you, those teams both playing pretty well, and both a man or two down for different reasons. But I thought it was a good early test for Coach Whitlock and Coach Tigard.
Very good early test. And I feel like maybe last year, didn't Ravenwood sneak one from, I feel like I've seen this story early on before. So I'm guessing, again, not a district game, but Coach Tigard's probably saying, all right, boys, we'll see him again in 2022.
Yeah, they had some great matchups last year.
Yes.
They really did. Those teams were very, really pretty equally matched. Franklin a little bit better, but had some great matchups. DJ Starr.
You're a fan. Transfer portal.
Listen, man, it's Coach Whitlock said, what did he say at basketball media day? He said, look, I know this is probably not politically correct, but COVID's actually been pretty good to us in terms of transfers.
Coach, put the mic down.
Don't at me, by the way. I'm just repeating what he said. But I thought he's not making light of COVID, but he's just saying.
With that room full of reporters and where they stand on that, I'm surprised that went over very well.
And listen, he's not saying he's for COVID. He's not saying that.
I know.
But I thought it was pretty funny. Got a great sense of humor, Coach Whitlock.
Great guy.
Hey, let's talk a little bowling. I know a few weeks ago we talked about the girls bowling. We had some young ladies who qualified for the first ever. They've got the individual tournament now. Again, at the Strike and Spare out in Hendersonville, they had the qualifier just to go over what we talked about before. We're in Section 3. 20 bowlers from Section 3 make it to the 54-person individual tournament that takes place in Smyrna in January. On the boys' side, Tate.
How'd Franklin do?
We had 6 bowlers. Listen, now, Franklin had every qualifier but one on the girls' side from Franklin. On the boys' side, 5 out of 6. Sam Dotson from Centennial finished 10th, but look down that list, Tate. We got a few bowlers there from Franklin making.
Yeah, how many Franklin bowlers bowled in this? 5?
Maybe 6.
Okay.
The Coach Brees, I know you're going to be watching this and looking it up, so I'm not totally confident in that, but I know 5 at least.
4th, 7th, 11th, 16th, and 17th. They came to play.
It's pretty good. Coach Logan has done a great job.
He has, and you've been saying that for 2 years now. 3 years now, I guess, count this year.
Not that the other coaches aren't doing a good job, because they are, but I think Coach Logan's putting some pressure on some people in terms of the way he views it, the way he attacks the day, so to speak, when it comes to bowling. He's helping with our middle school programs. You're going to see a state champion fairly soon from WCS.
Well, it'd just be another box checked, wouldn't it?
Shout out in particular, I want to mention these young men. Rusty Dalkey from Franklin finished 4th. Parker Lewis 7th. Drew Whalen 11th. Braden Didier finished 16th for Franklin. And then Carson Cochran 17th. And again, I mentioned Sam Dotson finished 10th. All right, Tate, let's talk a little football, little playoffs. Since we didn't get a chance to talk about the quarterfinals, I do want to, particularly this first game, because we had 2 of our teams in it. Summit Ravenwood, this was a great game. The final score, it's interesting. The first time they played, it was 49-28. This game ended up 48-28, but it didn't feel like the first one.
No.
With 9 minutes left, this game is 34-28. That other game, it was over in the first half, really.
Right.
Not this one. It was a great game, Tate.
Great game. The big-time players stepped up, none more so than your man Brady Pierce.
Man, he had a great game.
He had a great game. 3 receiving touchdowns, 1 rushing. returned 2 kicks, 54 yards. He punted. He had an interception on defense.
Sold some popcorn at halftime.
Sold some popcorn. I think he went in, made the pregame, the halftime adjustments on the grease board. You know, what a player, man. You know, fun to watch. And so you see now, I know everybody's seen it, these coaches and even his teammates really pumping him up about what a great player and teammate he is. And I mean, he literally did it all right there. You know, very cool. So, you know, it happens sometimes. Obviously, we'll talk about it in a second, but I think the winner of this game goes to Cookeville. It's just Chattanooga. Golly, that is so hard.
At least you know, though.
Yes. They just happened to meet in the semifinal. I mean, in the quarterfinals. But I think either one of these teams go. I think the best team obviously won, second time they won. But it was a really big game, and like I said, a lot of stars. Not to take anything away from anybody else, but no star shined as bright as Brady Pierce's did that night.
Destin and Keaton Wade, of course, this is same story, different chapter. Great nights, 213 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns for Destin Wade, 147 yards passing, 3 more touchdowns. Keaton, 92 yards rushing, a sack, and a forced fumble on defense. And congratulations, they were both named finalists for Mr. Football. Too bad, I mean, Jake McNamara from Page, he was a semifinalist, taking nothing away from those other young men who were finalists, but man, it's hard for me to believe that he didn't end up being a finalist.
Well, I think it's a flawed system, kind of like there's some, and I don't mean that critical, it just is what it is, right? You've got guys from all over the state that are probably not being paid to be on that committee, and it's kind of like the Heisman. There's been a lot of years, we'll go old school on these guys, they'll have to Google it. It's kind of like the year Gino Torretta won the Heisman, and then he goes and lays a stinker in the bowl game. Yeah, man. And everybody's going, this guy, the Mr. Football Committee, when they meet, it's all done then. So they all vote on it, and then the semifinalists are taken from those votes then, and then they release them later. My point is, had they voted on it now after what Jake McNamara did in the playoffs, yes, he's a finalist. It was done too early. Does that make sense?
Part of it.
Not defending it, but I don't think it's really a slap at him. And remember, we talked about this earlier, him missing that first game and a half early. We hoped it didn't bite him. It might have a little bit, but at the end of this year, golly, it ain't gonna matter, Mr. Football finalist or not. He was the Mike Bobo Quarterback of the Year award winner.
Well, we only found out here at the beginning of the year he's actually not playing for Bobo, but we thought he was.
What are you talking about? Maybe someday we'll break this down, what it's all about. Yeah, but back to we were talking about the wage. I don't remember if anybody ever addressed this. Has there ever been brothers that were Mr. Football finalists together?
That's a great question, and I would say I doubt it.
I find it hard to believe. And I think he's okay with it. I think the one that wears number 1 on his jersey is going to win it.
I do too. And Keaton will be just as happy.
That's right.
Great young man. Yeah. Hey, I do want to give a shout out to Ravenwood for the season they had. You know, they went on that winning streak after that last loss to Summit. Coach Hester, nobody's surprised, did a great job with that team. Chris Parson, he'll be back next year, 270 yards passing, a couple touchdowns, also had a couple rushing touchdowns. End of a career for guys like Lee Millette and Miles Pollard and the guy like, I know you love Brendan Dickinson.
How can you not?
He's much like a young man like Pierce. He does it all. And listen, I know Mama Hester's out there watching. I'm just going to go on the record because I step outside the box and make predictions sometimes. Ravenwood is the team to beat next year.
That make me happy because she can get down on you pretty quick when you pick against the Raptors now.
You think that's...
Oh, no question. Yeah, well, and that's what was crazy is Brentwood gave Summit the biggest fits defensively.
Right.
But nobody, and they did it twice, nobody scored as many points against that Summit defense as the Ravenwood offense did twice. So, yeah, they got a lot of firepower coming back, even though they lost a lot of firepower. But that's part of 6A football. But Mr. Parson will be back. He'll be a year stronger, wiser, mature. He scored 4 touchdowns against Summit. So, Yeah, I think that's a safe pick. They're going to be fun to watch.
And listen, don't underestimate this either. I mean, everybody talks about Coach Hester. He was here before, but these guys don't know him.
No.
He's just getting his system back in. So it'll be year 2 of a new coach. He's a new coach for them. He didn't coach those guys that are on the team right now. So my point in saying that, they'll be a year more familiar with him too. So look out. Ravenwood will be the team.
I like it.
But let's get back to
Write it in ink?
Yeah, you can write it.
All right, I like it.
I go out on a limb every once in a while. And Brentwood girls cross country, they'll have a good chance.
That
next year.
is- That is a hot take.
Nolensville volleyball. Listen, you heard it here. Hey, let's talk Page. Their quarterfinal win. They go to Green Hill. They win 31-14. They snapped an 11-game winning streak for Green Hill. They advanced to their 3rd semifinal in school history, the first since '98. They were there in '97. They were there in '98, and now again this year, Jake McNamara, no surprise, 250 yards, touchdown to Boy Smith. Kaysen Walker, maybe the play of the game.
Play a game.
He gets a kickoff return for a touchdown. That really kind of changed momentum when Green Hill was getting back into the game.
Yeah, first quarter was kind of a battle, and then Page too much firepower, which I thought they were. But, it can your mind can start playing tricks on you, right? You see that 11-game winning streak. They hadn't lost since the first game of the season against Siegel. And what we found out is that region is absolutely nowhere near as tough as the Page region. But, yeah, it was tough early on. They had a nice offensive attack and physical running back. But then once Mr. McNamara and the Patriot offense got going, it was smooth sailing from there. And that kickoff return was a big part of it.
Let's talk about the semis. Now we're on to the semis. Summit, number 1 seed, travels to Hendersonville, a number 1 seed. I messed up on my prediction. I thought Beach would come through. They played them great.
Wait a second. Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. That wasn't one of our pick'ems.
No.
Correct. That's right. I was going to say.
You offered it, and I'm like, how am I doing that?
That's right. You didn't take it. That's right.
Summit goes to Hendersonville. Now, this game, dicey early on, right? 7-7 early in the second quarter. But then you get a couple of rushing touchdowns by Destin Wade. They end up winning the game 28-7. And, the thing I like is this. I mean, obviously, the quarterfinals were different. But if you look at the playoff games, it hadn't all been really, really high-scoring offense for Summit.
Right.
It was in the quarters. 28 points is fine. But, during the season, they're 35 and 40. And that defense is really. The offense is playing well, too. What's happening, people are keeping the ball. In that Hendersonville game, I think the time of possession, I think Hendersonville had the ball 28 minutes. So it's hard to do a ton of scoring when you don't have the ball, and that's smart doing that. Ravenwood said, we're not worried about it. We're going to try to have a shootout here. So I think people are doing that to Summit, but they have proven they can ride that defense to wins too.
Yeah, go back and look. I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to say, for whatever reason, Ravenwood was a bad matchup for Ravenwood's offense is a bad matchup for Summit's defense. Problem is, Summit's offense is an even worse matchup for Ravenwood's defense. But yes, they've been shutting people down. It's hard to say with what this offense has done that the strongest side of the ball for this Summit team is the defense, but it might be. Go back and look at Hendersonville's scores, all right? They put up big-time offensive numbers, except for they scored 7 points against 2 people, first game of the year and their last game of the year. They played Oakland and lost, only scored 7 points, and then Summit only 7 points the other night. So, yeah, that's a really good offense. They had one mistake and let Torrin Baker get loose, and he's a guy that if you let him get loose, he's going to take it the distance. But outside of that, I thought the defense played lights out against a really, really good Hendersonville Commando offense. And remember, Summit was going in for that first touchdown, and Hendersonville stopped them on a goal line stand. That doesn't happen often. It won't happen again. If that doesn't happen, this thing's an even bigger route than it was.
And Hendersonville, obviously known for running that wing tee. It goes back to Coach Hatfield. They still run it now. Coach Coleman knows a little bit about
the wing tee.
The wing tee. So that had to help too.
Without a doubt. And I think the job that Kirk Taylor has done as a first-year defensive coordinator, he was on staff with Coach Melton and been a part of that, but still, to come in, Coach Coleman didn't freak out. what are you going to do now that Coach Melton's gone to be Franklin? You going to go get it? No, I'm going to move Kirk up and get him to do it, and him and the staff, Coach Martin and Burnham over there with him. I don't think you can say enough about it, man.
Yeah.
I don't think we see that enough. And Coach Coleman saw something in Coach Taylor that knew it was going to be great. And this defense has been lights out. So, I'm really excited to see what comes in the next one. But they played, and they get there nasty too. They're fun to watch. Helps when you got number 7 covering sideline to sideline as well.
It helps. It helps. Our other semifinal.
Goodness gracious.
It was it's really almost hard to describe it. And I mean, if you didn't get a chance, obviously people watching this show know. But if you just read about it or hear about it, you might go, is this real? And, the final score was 56-52. But I've heard, for whatever reason, the boat captain is going to make an appearance here. And I'm curious on why that's happening, because it's a 4-point game.
4-point game. Do you remember what the rules of a boat race are?
35-point lead.
35 points lead. Now, why would a 56-52 game be boat captain-esque worthy? Because, and I believe this is the first and probably the last, the Page Patriot offense scored 35 points in a quarter. That's boat captain worthy in my book.
There's no question it is.
No question.
And they scored that in the
fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter. So they enter the quarter down 31-21. And actually, even to me, more, but that's 10 points, right? Big deal. But it was 45-28 with 7 minutes to go.
7 minutes. I'm still trying to, you were there. I'm still trying to figure out how did they get the ball enough times to even do this?
Well, what was nuts about it, really, it's just strange. Well, not strange, but Henry County was scoring so fast, it really hurt them.
Yes.
It was like, okay, they've cut it to 45-35. Oh, they immediately score. I mean, it's just kind of, and then what ended up happening, they get the onside kick. That was a big deal. So McNamara ultimately hits Max Collins. That's a play everybody sees on highlights. He scores with 7 seconds left to make it 56-52. But McNamara also had a touchdown to Collins and an onside kick, and that's what got it to 45-42. So 45-35, they answer the Henry County score. They get the onside kick, then it's 45-42, and then like one play later, Henry scores again. Yeah. So it's like, okay, it's not going to happen. 52-42, Page gets a quick score, makes it 52-49, and then Henry fumbles the ball. So the onside kick and the fumble were the two key plays. Page was not stopping Henry. Obviously, Henry wasn't stopping Page, and it almost hurt Henry County. It's the weirdest thing.
Oh, it did hurt him.
It was like Bizarro World.
Yes, yeah. But there's so many lessons to take from this, right? One, you all talk about it all the time. Don't give up until the final whistle. And it's just really crazy. Seven passing touchdowns, right? They were all seven passing touchdowns by McNamara. Now listen to this. Max Collins, 194 yards, right? How many receiving touchdowns did he had? Two.
Including the
Boy
game winner.
Smith, 103 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. Michael Mayer, 78 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Ethan Cunningham, he got 1 rushing touchdown in there just so we could balance it up a little bit. But this is against Henry County. This is in the semifinals of 5A football. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And
these were the kind of stats that you put up as a kid, like playing in the backyard or the flag football team coached by Doug Mathews. Although he was responsible for the defense. That's another show.
it's a different story. Different show. That might be on our WCS Plus streaming app. It's their Tech Mobile, their Sega
incredible.
Genesis numbers. And I don't know, man. Think about that. He didn't have any room for a mistake. All them, but Jake's pulling the trigger. Everything that went on, all it took was, you just mentioned it, all it took was one misread or one bad throw, or He had no room for error and didn't make any.
442 yards. That pass,
And he had 100 rushing.
and that pass to Collins
Yeah.
was incredible. And credit to Coach Rathbone, too. He didn't kick the field goal.
No.
He's like, forget that.
I got to say this, man. I was texting with Coach Rathbone yesterday because I wanted to know. Miller Polk. That name mean anything to you, Coach Polk? You met him over there?
Yes, of course.
Coach Polk was an assistant coach for Jackie Bennett. He was the offense coordinator on the 97 and 98 teams. You already talked about what they did. Coach Rathbone brought him back 4 or 5 years ago, and he's the offense coordinator. He calls the plays. Now, if Coach Rathbone doesn't like him, he can overrule. But for the most part, Coach Polk is calling the plays. Man, my guess is he doesn't have a chart that big with a pen and a marker. And dude, he was on fire the other night. So pretty cool, man, to see him come back. And he's a Page guy. He's been around there a long time. And, you know, what a great job calling the plays. We talk about the guys out there making them, and they are the ones to get the credit on that. But somebody had to be calling those plays. And again, you know, he didn't have any room for error. So what a great job. And Coach Rathbone was a big part of it as well. But he was the guy calling the plays, and I think he deserves a game ball too if he didn't get one.
And listen, we've got a lot of great coaches, a lot of great people in the district. It's fun to work with them. None finer than Charles Rathbone.
None. Well, and I think you said it a couple years ago on this show. All the guy does is win. He ain't gonna win the Twitter battle, you know. He's not gonna you know, tweet out the quote of the day. Do I have time to get on a soapbox here for a second? The other day, somebody tweeted 4 habits of successful people. They get up early, they exercise regularly, they keep negative people away, and they surround themselves with successful people. That is unbelievable. I wrote that. Coach Rathbone is not tweeting stuff like that.
No, he's not. Coach has got some sense.
So, anyways, it's a game. I talked to another guy who's been going to Page. Well, it's Mr. Mizell, Zach Mizel's boy. No, Zach's been gone how many years now? He loves Page football. He says it's the most exciting game he's ever seen. And probably won't ever see anything like that again.
No, it's great. I think it's one of those things, too. Page football's been great. But this has the feeling of they've jumped to a new level. I know I'm talking beyond this year.
Yeah, I think so, too.
You can kind of feel it. So congratulations to Page. All right, Tate, let's talk pick'ems.
Okay.
And, you know, we don't want to crown anybody too early, but outside of me going back and lying and cheating and act like I messed up the records a few weeks ago, it looks like you've got it sewn up since you're 3 games ahead.
Who did Qualls miss?
Well, here's what's, and I owe Qualls a little bit of an apology. It was funny because you and I were talking on this show about we know he's going to pick Ravenwood. Coach Coleman sent me a message and said, you better check on Qualls after the Ravenwood Summit game.
Unbelievable.
But Qualls actually picked Summit.
Well, he's 3-1.
He missed the Page Henry County game.
Oh, he doubted
He did. So in those 2 weeks, you were 4-0. I was 4-0. The fans were 4-0. Dr. Qualls was 3-1.
Oh, boy.
He missed the Page Henry game. He picked Henry. So if you look at the standings, Dr. Qualls has 62 wins. He's in last place. The fans have 63.
Okay.
I have 64. You have 67. So with 2 games left, you've got it wrapped up.
Correct. Unless
So-
you want to add some games. But because I will say this, I think it's proven that I will pick against a WCS team if I believe it. But I can go ahead and tell you what I'm about to pick, I believe. So if these are the only 2 games, then this thing's over. Because I know what you're going to do.
I think you probably do know what I'm going to do. Let's talk about those games a little bit. Page, Knoxville, Powell, both number 1 seeds. Powell is 12-2. Page is 13-1. If you look at Powell's losses, to Maryville, 52-31.
No shame in that.
Knoxville Catholic, 30-29. They defeat Knoxville West last week, 35-7. Then you look at the 6A. So that's Friday night's game at 7 o'clock. Saturday night, 7 o'clock. Again, these are the primetime games. Summit, 14-0 versus Oakland, 14-0. And by the way, this week's gem, 25 in a row for Summit. 29 in a row for Oakland. Their last loss was in the semifinals, 2019, to Maryville. They beat Maryville last week, 24-14. I think it's a couple of great games. We've got some shots to win both, and I'm going to start, Mr. Mathews, with you. Page Knoxville Powell.
Knoxville Powell, they're going to come in. They're kind of a walk on the edge of maybe, there's going to be some bravado there. There'll definitely be some chirping, and they kind of come in with a Raiders type attitude, right? Barking, thinking they're going to intimidate. But I don't think there's any way you intimidate the Patriots. I think Mr. McNamara and the offense have proven that they can score on anybody. Just give us the ball. And I don't think Knoxville Powell's, Maryville, but it's different. I don't think Knoxville Powell's seen anything like Page. I know Page has played a tougher schedule. All the weapons. I think the Page Patriots get their first state championship in school history, in football, obviously.
I agree. First time's the charm.
First time's the charm.
First time in the final, they bring it home. State champion Page High School on Friday night.
How big is that going to be?
It'd be great.
I hope we got to find the Patriot man.
Yeah, because I'm getting word there might be some kind of remote going on there.
There could be.
Those nights. So
I've heard.
If so,
we need that guy to bring the juice.
we'll let you
So
know. Hey,
we're both
listen,
saying Page?
We're both saying Page. And we'll let you know, fans out there. And again, make sure you go out and vote. WCS, CO Athletics. Make sure, fans, you got an outside chance of catching me. You probably won't. But you got to keep the lead on Dr. Qualls. So make sure you keep voting, fans. Still a lot to play for. Then on Saturday night, the last football game of the season in Tennessee high school football. Summit, Oakland, both 14-0. I'm going to go first. Summit. They win it 3 straight years in the final. They get beat in the final 3 years ago. They learned a lot in that game.
They did.
They followed up with a state championship last year. What do? They move up to 6A. Maybe the only time this has ever happened with the chance to win it beyond maybe the Brentwood Academy days, right, and Coach Flatt when they moved up. Obviously different situation then. But they're not only going to move up, they're going to break that 29-game winning streak. They're going to beat Oakland. I think the difference is this. I think their defense is better than people think. Summit's, I'm talking. They've already proven it. And I think there's no way, I don't care who you are, you're not stopping the Summit offense. And Oakland's not exactly going to try to milk the clock and do. They're going to come out and say, let's go. And when they do, Summit's going to score. How was that?
I thought it was great. I really don't even want to follow it. I think this is pretty neat. You mentioned the win streak. If they win this game, these seniors, no. If they win this game in the last 3 years, so these seniors, since they were sophomores, they will have gone 41-4.
Incredible.
You can only play 45.
It's incredible.
41-4. I think you're right. I'm going with the Summit Spartans. You must be able to run the ball. I think we can run the ball. I really do. About 3 weeks ago, I decided I think Summit has the best offensive line in the state, any division. They'll get after you. They're nasty. They can run a little bit. They stay on their blocks. They're downfield blocking. Keaton's downfield blocking if he's not running the ball. And have you noticed he's getting the ball 12, 13. He's going to get that ball closer to 20. So I saw Oakland against Lipscomb and CPA, and they came back and won in the second half, made great adjustments. But the key to beating them, everybody thought Lipscomb threw it on them. They didn't. They ran it on them. That's what CPA did. You got to be able to run the ball against them. Well, I don't know anybody who runs the ball better than Summit.
I think we'll both agree with this. Obviously, we're both picking WCS teams because we believe it's going to happen.
I believe it.
I think that 6A game is going to be a classic.
It's going to be a classic. And you mentioned the last game of the weekend. How cool is that? 6A, our largest division, undefeated versus undefeated, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Chattanooga, Finley Stadium. Man, if you don't make the trip for that, I don't know what else you got going on in your life, but it must be pretty big because that's huge.
It's going to be fun, and I'll see you there.
Oh, man, can't wait. You think Coach Coleman will be amped up?
He'll be amped
He'll
up.
be crying. I mean, it's going to be good.
He's going to be crying for a lot of different reasons.
Yes.
One, because he knows graduation's coming eventually.
Amen.
Enjoy it while you got it, man.
I know we're a little over, but Thanksgiving, we also, speaking of the Wade twins, we had something to be thankful for, but I think we're both in trouble now too. Could be. One of us could be in trouble. Lincoln Riley leaves Oklahoma. I think the head coach is either going to be your head coach or our head coach. And I just hope it's yours.
I hope it's Bob Stoops, not Mark.
It ain't going to be Bob. Golly.
I know. A lot going on.
A lot going on.
We could have used that for one of our pick-ems.
You want to do it? No. What do I get for winning? I don't know that I've ever gotten anything.
Congratulations.
A T-shirt.
Congratulations.
I just love that the fans beat Dr. Q. Again.
Well, it's not yet.
Well, you know who the fans are picking.
Yeah, they're going to pick us.
Well,
And
you
so
know
when
who-
we
you
win,
know who
it's
he's
over.
picking.
Yeah. I might even tell him what he's got to do because then he'll try some kind of strategy that's different.
The bad thing is, it's not going to happen. But let's just say we lose both these games, which we're not. We're winning both. And he picked them. He's still only tied you.
I love it. I love it.
It's great. It's a great position.
Even though he had some inside information, he thought.
Yeah. The pundit was feeding him. Not well enough.
No, not well enough.
Get down there to these games, man.
Got to get there.
Yeah. Okay.
Got to get there. It's going to be great. Chattanooga, it's going to be great.
Yep. Be fun.
Appreciate you being here as always, Tate.
Yes, sir. Good to see you. Good to be back. Can't wait to talk basketball.
And thank you for joining us. As always, we'll see you next week on Sports Connection.